Good evening and welcome to the, what day is this? September 11th, 2017 Public Forum and Council meeting. Once everyone gets seated a little bit, we'll begin. Give folks a chance to settle in. Thank you all for being here. Today is a commemorative day, September 11th, the 16th anniversary of the events on September 11th, 2001. And so on this day, Patriot Day, we remember and honor the nearly 3,000 innocent lives taken from us on September 11th, 2001, and all of those who so nobly aided their fellow citizens in America's time of need. We rededicate ourselves to the ideals that define our country and unite us as one, as we commemorate all the heroes who lost their lives saving others. Each of us can recall where we were on that day, the disbelief, fear, anger, and despair that ripped through our country. And we recall with pride and gratitude the courage, strength, and selflessness of the police, fire, and other first responders who ran toward danger without pause or concern for their own safety. That spirit of service lives today in the response to Hurricanes Harvey and Irma, and to our own firefighters and first responders who are battling the wildfires across our state and region. Our choking air and hazy skies remind us that we are in this together, that we depend on one another. By protecting those in need, by taking part in acts of charity, service, and compassion, and by giving back to our community and country, we honor those who gave their lives on and after September 11, 2001, and support those who continue to do this life-saving work today. And now, in honor, I would like to have a moment of silence. Thank you. And now I want to segue from that to one more observation, and then we'll proceed with the public forum. I released this statement earlier today. I've spoken about this last week, and I wanted to read the statement to you all. Last week, the federal government chose to terminate the federal program known as DACA, Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. This action contradicts the trust immigrant communities placed in their government when they applied for the program. The City of Eugene remains steadfast in its commitment to protecting, welcoming, and supporting our immigrant communities. We will stand by Resolution 5174 that proclaims that we will be a safe and welcoming community for all people, and specifically immigrants and their families. Ours is a nation of immigrants, and each new generation of immigrants refreshes and renews our country with new ideas, languages, and perspectives. The promise of Dreamers is the promise of us all to learn, to grow, and to contribute to our community. In March, the City Council unanimously approved the Protections for Individuals Ordinance, Ordinance 20579. This ordinance put into local law what we did in practice. The foresight by Council to approve this important ordinance will ensure that our organization will not aid the federal government with resources to detect or apprehend individuals whose only violation is being present in our community in violation of federal immigration laws. Ordinance 20579 also generally prevents city staff from tracking the religious, political, or social views of individuals or groups. DACA recipients and all immigrants should know that the City of Eugene is committed to their rights as individuals in our community. We are committed to their safety. Thank you. And now, we will begin with the public forum. The public forum is an opportunity for individuals to speak to the City Council on any city-related issues, except for those items which have already been heard by a hearings official or are on tonight's agenda as a public hearing. Each person will have 3 minutes to speak. When you come to the podium, please give your name, city of residence, and for Eugene residents, your ward if known. The timer and lights indicate the time you have to speak. The red light indicates the end of 3 minutes. And a reminder, because it's been 6 weeks since we last, or 7 weeks since we last saw you all, that we try to maintain a respectful, safe place for people to speak, and so we ask no comments from the audience while someone is speaking or after they speak, but you can always show your approval. And so, first up, we have Pat Farr, followed by Duncan Rhodes.
Thank you, Mayor Venice Council. I was a childhood immigrant. My name is Pat Farr. I live at 1929 Praslin in Eugene, wards, I live in Ward 6, but I am not Greg Evans, County Commissioner. He's my City Councilor. I'm not his County Commissioner. However, I do share constituents with Councillors Pryor and Councillor Surratt and Councillor Ye, Councillor Semple, and Councillor Evans, and with you, Mayor. I'm here to thank you tonight. I'll tell you later what I'm going to thank you for. I serve on a number of boards, state and national, on health and human services, on veterans affairs, on housing, and a number of different issues, and have meetings in Salem, Oregon City, in Washington, D.C., and it is very rare that during my meetings that the cooperation that occurs between the City of Eugene and Lane County is not lauded. People are envious. People dream about the kind of cooperation that we share between our jurisdictions, and I'm proud of that, and we all should be. That's not what I'm thanking you for tonight. Recently we had two monumental decisions that the City Council of Eugene and Lane County worked on. One of them was a land use decision regarding the placement of the courthouse and the placement of City Hall. It was a huge decision, took a lot of work. I'm proud of the decision we made. We also recently came to a conclusion of the Envision Eugene process and moved along with the next steps. Took a lot of work, and I'm proud of the decisions we made, but that's not what I'm here to thank you about either. What I'm here to thank you about, and I'll be very quick and brief about it, I'm thankful for our future work, for the cooperation that we have begun and that we will continue regarding what I believe is one of the most critical issues in inside the urban growth boundary, and that is the urban interface between the City of Eugene and Lane County as the city annexes new properties adjacent to Lane County in an urban environment. When the city takes over land that is already urban but now is city, there are consequences that occur for the people who are still not in the city. And there's one very specific that I'm going to talk about this evening. It's one that we can work on, and if we can get through this in the River Road area, then we're going to be able to set a tone for the future. It's a housing development that was built. It's an apartment complex, the Echo Complex, large apartment complex that was on annexed property adjacent to county urban property owners. It's a large apartment complex that allows one parking space per unit. Now, some of these units have three bedrooms. Many of them have two, and most of them have multiple car drivers. There's one parking space, and the apartment complex actually charges people to use that parking space. So what is happening, and many of you have heard about this, is those folks are driving into the county and parking sometimes on the lawn, sometimes in the driveway, quite often moving garbage cans. Thanks for the cooperation, and thanks for helping us to solve this issue.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, Duncan Rhodes, followed by Steve Shin.
Yes, I'm Duncan Rhodes, and I live at 4001 Potter Street. I'm in Betty Taylor's ward, and that is an apartment complex on the intersection of East Amazon and where Fox Hollow would be if it crossed the road, but then it's Potter Street. Anyway, I've got a couple attaboys for you. The Willamette Street restriping is just great. My grandson, that's a senior at South Eugene High School, made a comment the other week that he really enjoys driving on South Willamette Street a lot more than he liked it before, and it's also a lot safer for bicyclists and pedestrians. And I would encourage you to continue that experiment. A few weeks ago, we had Sunday Streets. Got another one scheduled next weekend. And the turnout was fantastic. They closed Broadway. And my daughter made the comment that she would like to see the city try closing Broadway for a day on the weekends to see how merchants liked it. If you polled the merchants, you can get their response to what happened on Sunday Streets, but she said it was just absolutely packed. And so I can't imagine that they'd have an objection to it. So maybe we could close Broadway on one day a month or something like that and just completely block the street, and you wouldn't even have to station anybody there to keep the traffic out. But be something nice to try. And lastly, on the East Amazon repaving, that has gone very well. They even installed a small bump out on Potter Street and a crosswalk there to make it a little easier for people to cross the street. I was trying to get a stop sign, but they wouldn't go for that. Anyway, I think everything's going very well, and thank you for adopting 20579.
Thank you. Steve Shin, followed by Joe Tyndall.
Hello, all. My first time coming in, I've lived in Eugene now for about 2 years. And when I originally moved my family back to the Northwest, I'm originally from Northern California. I wanted to be back in a place that was progressive and forward-thinking and inclusive to everyone.
Could you just tell us where you live and which ward?
I live in the first ward. My house backs into Westmoreland Park. That being said, a little bit about my background. Again, I'm from Northern California, Humboldt County specifically. I wanted a little more of that Humboldt County feeling for those who know anything about Humboldt. We are, like I said, progressive and forward-thinking. My issue is, since now that I'm older and married and have 2 kids and a small business in the Friendly Street neighborhood, I have what I would think of as an excessive issue with transients on my street doing essentially urban camping, which sometimes includes drug dealing and different criminal activity. I served in the armed forces. I was, before I opened my business, the quintessential left-leaning social studies teacher. I don't want jackbooted thugs to kick these people off my street. That's not what I'm asking. My house dead ends, again, not dead ends, but is actually the last house on the street before it's all park. And I feel as though the Boys and Girls Club is there, the park is there, a school is there, and kids sports is there. I realize that we have some of this community because we're so welcoming, and that's great. I don't necessarily think next to those 4 entities is the best place to allow that. When I've spoke to the police about different issues, we had one person a couple weeks ago that had a bonfire. But not a bonfire, that's over a campfire. Like, it was just a campsite in the park. When I speak to the police, they tell me, A, go to a city council meeting and ask for more police. Me being a progressive leaning person, I just can't bring it to myself to tell people I want more police. But I do think that there might be something along the lines of, you know, if you can't smoke a cigarette within a certain amount of feet by a school, maybe urban camping isn't an appropriate space for that space either. When I spoke to a police officer today, I kind of flagged one down, and he mentioned there are different tiers of calls, and that if you just call and say, hey, I have an urban camping situation going, it's a really relatively low tier and probably should be. My request is that you guys think about, once again, maybe some kind of area around there, or if in that area those calls could be escalated.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Joe Tyndall, followed by Sarah Piccineri.
Hi, Joe Tyndall. Happy 16th anniversary of 9/11. Maybe this year the 2,900 architects and engineers at ae911truth.org will bring about a new government investigation not controlled by the people implicated in this crime. I won't hold my breath as the wars 9/11 justified continue and our rights erode. After Lynn Porter stopped moderating the Homeless Action List server, my email inbox has overflowed. Over the 6 years since Occupy, a place to sleep for very few homeless has been achieved. Congratulations to all on being ineffective. You may recall my suggestion of a tent inside a tent approach using greenhouses that would serve many more people on the same property for less money. After my disagreeing with Gene Stacy and not backing down, I was dogpiled out of homeless advocacy as, quote, a violent offender, unquote. My thanks to those of you who forwarded Gene Stacy's attack emails to me. Speaking of social justice hounding, we now know Matt Halls was fired from the Oregon Bach Festival for a joke between Halls and Reginald Mobley, a world-renowned countertenor. Mobley went public indicating a white woman overheard them talking and reported it to U of O authorities, claiming the joke was a racial slur. Mobley supporting Halls, his longtime friend, obviously pegs Mobley as a hate-filled, bigoted, racist, Trump-supporting, white supremacist Nazi who needs to be punched. Mobley happens to be black. Imagine my surprise, a politically correct identity politics, thought nannying, intersectional, grievance mongering, victim culture, virtue signaling, self-righteous, controlling, social justice warrior, special snowflake, on the hunt to call out every hateful microaggression and assure these crimes are fully punished, has ratted out this deplorable pair. On that note, Councillor Surratt is still on record as an enemy to First Amendment free speech. Bob Walker's Police Commission censorship rules have not been repealed. The Commission arrives on September 25th to proclaim their astounding performance. Will they repeat former Commissioner Miller's taking the planning retreat list of potential topics not making it onto the work plan and claiming these items had been considered? Having attended most of the meetings, I know the Commission accomplished little of value beyond being entertained by EPD. Having watched live stream video of Antifa, EPD's civil disturbance policy is grossly inadequate. Can this world get any crazier? If anyone wants to refute my wrongthink in an equal time debate with a no interruption rule, I'm super into it. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah Piccineri, followed by Otis Hashmeyer.
Hi, everybody. My name is Sarah Piccineri. I currently live in Claire Surratt's ward, but I'm here representing Ward 9, the Homeless Neighbors Association. Tonight, out of respect for your time, we've elected to have just one of us speak to this issue. However, I will ask any members or friends of Ward 9 who are present to please stand up in opposition to the dog ban trial ordinance downtown. We are calling on the council to put this embarrassingly discriminatory policy to rest forever on November 1st. We have the creative solutions. There is no use for these destructive tactics. Thank you.
Thank you. Otis Hashmeyer, followed by Adam Hansman.
Hi, I'm Otis Hashmeyer. I'm from Ward 1. Your recent motion to hold a special election November 7th to present a $51.2 million bond measure to voters has damaged my trust in your governance, so much so that I stand before you. I have never addressed a public body like this before. I am nervous. To regain that trust, I call on you to revise the presentation of the measure Bonds to Fix Streets, Fund Bicycle and Pedestrian Projects. Like many, I was delighted to see the title. I ride bicycles with my family. I feel the pressing need for environmental responsibility. As I read on, I was disappointed, and when I did the math, I was angry. To be clear, I feel the title should read $44 million in bonds to fix streets, $5 million bonds to fund bicycle and pedestrian projects, and $2.2 million to pay interest and fees. To emphasize neutrality, you should explain how bonds work and that they move value from our community into the hands of investors in the form of interest payments. I tried discovering who was exempt from your proposed $51.2 million in taxation. The section you cite in the Oregon Constitution, the sections you cite, are impenetrable. I feel you might acknowledge the illogic of homes paying to fix streets that they don't damage. Conversely, make clear that paying $44 million to fix streets paid by Eugene homeowners is a cost-free incentive to drivers. Add that a driving incentive does not advance Eugene's environmental objectives. I think it wouldn't be too far to let us know that $44 million will be paid to environmentally damaging corporations to fix those streets, a reward for causing the damage to those streets and the environment in the first place. Most importantly, I feel you should make it absolutely clear that 9 parts to 1 will be paid to retain the status quo, with only $1 in $9 going to environmentally sound infrastructure, and this will persist for the next 5 years. Lastly, let voters know this is not a carbon tax, which would advance Eugene's environmental goals by being a disincentive to driving and an incentive to alternate forms of transportation, placing a tax on all those who damage both the streets and the environment, and funding environmentally sound transportation practices. To appearances, you propose a bait-and-switch bond measure on an off-year election. I get the impression you want the money, and you don't care how you get it. You can restore my trust. 1, by revising your documents for true neutrality. 2, by fixing your infrastructure. And 3, by rescinding the motion to hold a special election. Thank you.
Thank you. Adam Handman, followed by Joshua Scove.
Hello, my name's Adam Hansman. I go by Chili on the streets here. I'm a traveler, nomad, and I pay taxes on everything that I buy in this country. I pay taxes when I get a job, probably a quarter, maybe more of my taxes, my paycheck go to taxes. And I was a born citizen of this country. I think America was based on the fact that nomadic life, free life, and that whatever you want to do and however you want to view life, live it as long as you're not harming others, is your right as an American citizen. Being homeless is not a crime. It's a choice I make. Because societies like this make me sick. You judge one another. You look down on one another. Where's the compassion and where's the love? You don't want homeless people on the streets, to make them someplace to go. Don't make them go anywhere. It's not a crime to sleep outside. It's my human right. Sleep is a human right. Eating food is a human right. Other than that, everything else in life is a luxury. A house, a car, a job, a fancy little suit and tie so you can sit up there. I am disgusted by what's happening in America, in Eugene. People used to come from all around this country to come here and see the subculture of Eugene. And it's not here anymore. Thank you.
Thank you. Josh Scove, followed by Joan Klein.
Good evening, councilors. Joshua Scove, Ward 1 in Eugene. Hi, Councilor Semple. As always, councilors, thank you for your service, and hello to Aria and Jasmine watching at home. I'm here tonight as president of the board of directors of Better Eugene Springfield Transportation. 3 quick points. First, a celebration, then a thank you, and then a short look into the future of our work on transportation safety. The celebration is this weekend. MX West, the next line of our bus rapid transit system, will open on September 17th, this Sunday. BEST is proud to have helped to organize community support and work with community leaders to bring that support to council, and having council give the final thumbs up to that project 6 years ago. In addition to being a crucial investment in our transportation system, it was also a tree planting effort, a net gain of over 200 trees, and the largest sidewalk project in the city's history. I hope you can attend the official opening. If you can't, I will understand, as long as you're at Sunday Streets on a bicycle. Second, a thank you. The city, working with Eugene Safe Routes to Schools, has put in buffered bike lanes on 24th between Amazon Parkway and Hilliard. This is an excellent example of Vision Zero thinking, traffic calming, and more space for bicycles right in front of a school. We can look ahead to more of that, I hope. And finally, to take a quick little look into the future, I'd like to talk about speed and speeding. This fall, the work of your Vision Zero task force will wrap up its work and will complete a Vision Zero action plan. As we take our policy thinking and community discussion to the next level, some of this will be complicated, but some of it will be very familiar, and it will be about speed. I want us to remember that Vision Zero is about saving lives and protecting lives. And it seems so obvious, but speed is pretty fundamental to transportation safety. We're going to have to think hard about all aspects of speed. That means speed limits. It also means enforcement for speeding. And if you think back to the Vision Zero framework, that is not just engineering and enforcement, but also education, also doing what we can to change the culture of driving in our city as well. BEST looks forward to continuing that work with staff and the community to help improving our transportation system, and in particular, to protect lives. Thank you.
Thank you. John Klein, and followed by Rob Bennett.
Good evening. John Klein, Ward 1. First, thank you for your work as mayor and councilors, working to make our city of Eugene a great place to live and work. I'm here tonight to talk about something I believe makes Eugene a very livable place, at least in many parts of the city, and that is trees. Especially trees on city property, in parks, and along city streets. We are very fortunate here in the Northwest, and in the Willamette Valley in particular, to live in a region that allows large canopy trees to thrive. Our soils are generally pretty good, and we get enough rain to keep the groundwater replenished so that once new trees get planted and established after 3 years or so, they can, for the most part, take off. I'd ask you now to picture a location in each of the wards you represent and think of a tree or a line or cluster of trees that make that location, whether it's in a park or on a city street, a more attractive and livable place for the people who live and work around there. Just picture a tree or a group of trees nearby in the ward that you represent. Someone at some time planted that tree or group of trees, staked them, watered them, mulched them, and they became part of the city's urban forest. I'm one of hundreds of volunteers for the nonprofit organization Friends of Trees. Friends of Trees, formerly the Eugene Tree Foundation, has planted thousands of trees in and around the city over the past 20 years. Nearly all of these trees have been planted with volunteers and a very small paid staff of Friends of Trees getting up Saturday mornings during tree planting season to plant these trees, and maybe some of you guys have participated in these Saturday morning plantings. They're a lot of fun. It's very satisfying to experience planting a tree and see it grow through the years, as I'm sure you're aware. Unfortunately, here in Eugene, we are losing far more trees and tree canopy year by year than are being replaced. These tree removals are happening in all parts of the city as trees reach the end of their lifespan. The City Public Works Department used to plant new street trees when one was removed, but that is no longer the case. Instead, the planting and care for new trees, if and when it happens at all, has been subcontracted to an independent tree planter or to Friends of Trees. I would very much like to encourage you as city councilors to make the planting or replanting of new trees and the watering and maintenance of those trees a high priority in budget decisions for this and future fiscal years. Friends of Trees does truly amazing work in Eugene. This includes working with neighbors on the best species of tree to plant and in how and when to take care of that tree. Trees provide many benefits for all of us, reducing stormwater, cooling on hot summer days, increasing home and property values. For these and many reasons, please consider increasing Eugene's city budget to help pay the cost of planting new trees in our parks and our city streets.
Thank you. Thank you. Next up, Rob Bennett, followed by Jerry Garcia.
Good evening, Rob Bennett, Ward 5. I'm here tonight speaking on behalf of Downtown Eugene, Inc. Wanted to bring up two interrelated downtown topics. The first being the importance of creating a strategic plan for downtown. The idea behind this strategic plan is to have goals and to have timelines to work together as a group of downtown stakeholders towards a more prosperous and inviting downtown. The plan obviously includes a lot of the work that's being done on the park blocks with the revisioning there, but it also includes, in our opinion, more of a downtown market analysis study looking at opportunities in retail and service, in restaurants, in arts and entertainment, in housing, office lodging. And that brings me to my second topic, which involves the work session on the 20th to discuss the renaming of Broadway Plaza. Broadway Plaza sits at the heart of downtown. It's at the center of our community, the intersection of Broadway and Willamette. Being such an important corner, changing the name of, or considering changing the name of Broadway Plaza prior to creating a strategic plan like this seems premature to me. We feel it limits our community's options to how that space fits within the overall master plan. Changing the name of Broadway Plaza to Kesey Square holds a level of symbolism within our community, and in turn makes it difficult to discuss any potential uses for this space that are different than what they are right now. The timing for this discussion seems ill-sequenced and a little bit rushed to me, and I think it would be better served to have a conversation like this after the master plan is created. The enhancement of the park blocks, along with City Hall and the Farmers Market, may in the end prove to be a better open space to honor Ken Kesey than the current space that sits right now too. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Jerry Garcia, followed by Melissa Actian.
Hello, I'm a longtime homeless person. I've lived up and down the West Coast, California, up and down, and I'm a student in environmental studies, and I'm not homeless by choice. I'm homeless by necessity. It just turned out that way. And it's just really difficult to find a place to live with my 4 ducks and a chicken. But we have been living in Eugene for the last 3 months or so, around the Whitaker area. And I've found a place to park during the day in the park, Tall Trees Park. I think it's also otherwise known as, can't pronounce the name. Yeah. And I park at night, so I don't stay there 24 hours. I go at night to another parking space that's not labeled no parking. So, my sister lives in Florida, and I really hope I can talk to her again after the hurricane, because it seems devastating. And we've been known about the climate change for many years. There's been doubts about it, but I mean, it seems like it's kind of getting more apparent. And this fits with me because I'm a bicyclist, and I've always known that bicycling has its place in cities. Bicycles can probably pick up all the trash in the city with bike trailers and a special team. That's just one thing. And you can also live in bike trailer homes, which I've made before, and I've run for office in Arcata twice, living in a bike trailer. And I got 721 votes in one election as a homeless person, a student homeless person. And I'm planning on doing that again, here in Eugene once I find the proper ward. But I want to read this letter that I found in this newspaper. This is a local paper here. I'm sure you're all familiar with it, Eugene Weekly. And I met a special person who knows how to read between the lines and see the fine print and let the public know, some subtle things that we should all think about. I want to reiterate this point in this letter that I found in the Eugene Weekly. It's called 41.2 million, I have taught English for 22 years and teach writing for Stanford University online. I have never seen a reprehensible a manipulation of language as in the ballot, bonds to fix streets, fund bicycle and pedestrian projects to meet Eugene voters in the special election on November 7th. In the title, the comma suggests parallelism. Items in a series suggest ascension. The colloquial fixed streets is diminutive to the grandiloquent fund projects. Each of these misleads voters to believe that fund bicycle and pedestrian projects is equal or paramount to fixed streets. Spoiler alert, it ain't even close. In question, we are asked, shall the city raise 51.2 million? Omitted is the unequal disbursement of funds. Obfuscated is who pays. In the summary, the topic sentence reinforces the false equivalency of the title. Fix approximately 88 lane miles of roads and fund bicycle and pedestrian projects.
Thank you.
Thank you, but you can also read it in here.
Thank you very much.
Newspaper. Thank you.
Thank you. Melissa Octian is our final speaker.
Hi, everybody. I live in Chris Pryor's ward. Right there, sorry. I'm also a merchant downtown. I have a shop around 8th and Willamette. And I want to thank you guys for Sunday Streets, the Fiesta de Cultural. The dog ordinance has made a huge difference downtown. And I want to thank you for all the efforts that you guys have done to get downtown more commerce friendly, more friendly to the locals that live in Santa Clara and other places that haven't really wanted to come downtown. It's getting a little better. I also appreciate all the hard work of the police down at the park blocks. The park blocks are amazing. You can go sit out there and have lunch now. You couldn't do that last summer. I want to echo what Rob Bennett had to say about creating a master plan, then making a decision on what to name Broadway Plaza. And some of our other areas like Free Speech Plaza, there's other people that maybe spaces should be named after. Kitty Piercy, Dave Hauser. So let's get a master plan in place first, and then let's talk about what to name our precious public spaces. Thank you.
Thank you. And that ends our public forum. Wanting to know if councilors want to make any comments? I have Councilor Zelenka. Anybody else? Okay.
City Attorney, could you please remind us what we can and cannot say up here at the council and council meetings about the bond measure? Around whether or not we're advocating.
Well, you can. You can't direct us to provide you information regarding it, but as elected officials, you certainly can speak regarding it. There aren't restrictions on you. There are restrictions on what you can ask of us, but you can say what you would like.
Right. Thank you for clarifying that. So with that, the road bond that we're putting forth in the May ballot is a continuation of the same bond we've already been paying since 2008, approved by voters twice, 2008, 2012. It has no increase in the tax rate, so it's a status quo measure. and there will be an immediate deterioration of the streets with the failure of the passage of that bond. And then finally, maintaining our streets because of this bond will ensure that our streets remain and increase the safety of our streets.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right, I think that closes that public forum, and I think that's it for the meeting. In fact, that closes our meeting. Thank you all.
Claire?